And now we're on to what is often referred to as Spielberg's worst film, Hook. But what do I think? Hook was released in 1991 and is once again directed by Steven Spielberg and has music once again by John Williams, and the film has a pretty good cast with Robin Williams as Peter Pan, Dustin Hoffman as Captain Hook, already that's sounding pretty good, not gonna lie, Julia Roberts as Tinkerbell, Bob Hoskins as Smee, Captain Hook's assistant. Also in this film we have Caroline Goodball, who plays Moria, Peter Pan's now wife, and also in the film we have Maggie Smith as a much older Wendy. And basically the film is a different take on the traditional Peter Pan story. Basically in the film, Peter Pan, this whole Peter Pan story is famous. As we see at the start of the film, you know, it's people have made books of the Peter Pan story, even like, you know, children do productions of the Peter Pan story. And like I said, Peter Pan is played by Robin Williams in this film. The thing is with Peter Pan at the start of the film, he doesn't remember he's Peter Pan. Peter Pan is all grown up. He's played by Robin Williams and he has kids. The whole thing about this film is Peter Pan has kids. That's what he keeps saying throughout the film. But anyway, basically, as we see at the start of the film, he's not really making time for his kids. He's a businessman, he's a lawyer, everyone loves him at his job, but he doesn't really make time for his kids. He's at his daughter's production, and by the way, his daughter's production is Peter Pan, which is a bit on the nose there, I'm not gonna lie. He's at his daughter's production, he's on the phone for the second half of the production, and then his son's baseball game the day after he doesn't actually make, and he sends one of his assistants instead to go and film the baseball game. And so you kind of get the idea he doesn't make enough time for his kids. One Christmas, they make a trip up to London where they once again meet Wendy. Wendy is played by Maggie Smith. She's much older now, and now Peter Pan's actually got a different wife known as Moria in the film, and she's played by Caroline Goodball. And basically, they've got kids together, so he isn't actually with Wendy. So the whole thing, you know, Peter Pan and Wendy, that is talked about in this film, but he's no longer with Wendy anymore. And basically, long story short, Peter Pan's kids get captured by Hook. And so, also long story short, Tinkerbell literally finds Peter Pan and takes him to Neverland. But Peter Pan does not remember he was Peter Pan. In order to save his kids from Hook, he has to fly. He doesn't remember he's Peter Pan, so he can't fly. And so he goes to the Lost Boys. The Lost Boys are on Neverland. They're against the pirates, they're against Hook and everything. The Lost Boys is now run by this character known as Rufio, and he's quite important in the film. Anyway, the Lost Boys try to convince Pan that he was, you know, Peter Pan. Tinkerbell's trying to convince them to convince him as well. But at the same time, Hook is trying to be a better father than Peter Pan was to his son. Even so much that, you know, Hook actually makes a pirate baseball game to impress this kid, to make him feel like, you know, Hook's being a father to his kid. Anyway, at the same time, the Lost Boys are still trying to convince Peter Pan that he is Peter Pan, and they do eventually, and basically Peter Pan goes off to face against Hook, and there's a whole big fight at the end, there's a whole big war. It all comes down to this wonderful end where, you know, Peter Pan remembers he's Peter Pan again, he gets his kids back, his son wants to be his son again, and his son's happy to be his son again, and I was like, oh wow, you're Peter Pan, my father's Peter Pan, and yeah, it's all a very, very nice ending. There's other plot lines to go throughout the film. For example, this whole plot line, Wendy's much older Wendy now. Gwyneth Paltrow showed up at one stage in the film, I was like, wow, didn't expect her to show up. But yeah, basically that's the overall gist of the film. It's the Peter Pan story with twists. It's almost like what would happen if Peter Pan went back to Neverland after he was Peter Pan, after people made stories of this, you know, fantastic character. What would happen if he went back to Neverland, but he didn't remember he was Peter Pan? Just before I get into my review of the film, just say that I am not one of these people that grew up with this film as a child. In fact, the first time I probably watched the film was last year. I was watching a bunch of Spielberg films at the time, and I just thought I'd stick on Hook, see what it's like. I knew it was a famous film, but I didn't know it was famous, you know, for being a bad film or famous for being a good film. I mean, now I know it's famous for being one of Spielberg's worst films, which, by the way, I disagree with, and I'm going to get onto a bit later. Now I know it's famous for not being one of Spielberg's best films, but back then I didn't, and so I just stuck on the film, and I was watching a bunch of Spielberg films, and yeah, it surprised me. I'm not one of those people that grew up with this film as a child. I saw bits of it as a child, but I never got into it. In fact, the films I watched as a child, like the Star Wars films or the Indiana Jones films, you know, I'm not one of those people who really grew up, you know, kids films. I mean, yeah, I watched a fair few Pixar films, but I'm not one of those people, you know, who full-on grew up those films and, you know, have those films have a special place in my heart. In fact, the films that have a special place in my heart, the Star Wars, the Indiana Jones films. So, I'm not one of those people, you know, that grew up with this film. I'm not one of those people that are going to say, well, I have this emotional connection to this film, that's why I love it so much. No, I'm not one of those people. In fact, I'm one of those people that only saw this film last year. And I watched this film again last night to do this review today. And, well, I liked the film. But I will admit, it does have a lot of problems, and I can completely understand why people don't like this film, and at the same time, I completely understand why people love this film. Basically, One thing I do think is incredibly fantastic about this film is the set pieces. Honestly, when you do finally get to Neverland, it takes about half an hour to get to Neverland in the film. You know, 'cause Spielberg does like build-ups. He does. If you've ever watched, you know, Jaws or Jurassic Park, Spielberg likes a good build-up. When you do finally get to Neverland, yeah, the set pieces are incredible. They honestly are. They make you feel like you're watching the story actually take place in Neverland. Honestly, Hook's ship, don't know how they built that, fantastic. The whole light of Hook's side of Neverland, that's fantastic. The whole Lost Boys part of that Neverland, again, that's also fantastic. The set pieces in the film are great. Honestly, you can tell they put a lot of effort into the set pieces and the performance of the film. I think Robbie Williams is absolutely fantastic in this film. He's honestly, the energy that he brings to that role, you really do believe that, you know, one part is a lawyer, he doesn't remember who Peter Pan is, and when he does finally remember who Peter Pan is, you really feel, okay, now I'm watching Peter Pan. That's, you know, mostly that's down to, you know, Robin Williams' fantastic performance. In fact, it's a large part of the film that I think Robin Williams carried. As well as that, I also think there's a large part of the film that Dustin Hoffman carried as Captain Hook. Honestly, they did fantastic with the casting of the two lead roles. Dustin Hoffman as Captain Hook is absolutely fantastic. As well as that, Julia Roberts is also fantastic as Tinkerbell. Last night, I completely forgot that Julia Roberts was in this film. When I sat down to watch it, I thought, oh my god, Julia Roberts is in this film. And she doesn't look like Julia Roberts. I mean, she's Tinkerbell in the film, but I just completely forgot she's in this film. Yeah, she's great in the film. I'm not really sure what they're doing with her character, but performance is actually really, really good. There's a lot of, like, serious moments which Julia Roberts is just very well in the film. Also, Bob Hoskins is great in the film. I really liked his character. I don't really know the character Bob Hoskins was playing. I think of Smee or something. Yeah, Captain Hook's assistant. He's really good in the film. There's a couple of moments in the film where he was delivering, like, a small monologue, and he delivered it really, really well. He was like, kind of digging this character, not gonna lie. There's a slight nod with his character to Good Morning Vietnam, because everyone knows, you know, Robin Williams, Good Morning Vietnam. And then there's a slight nod in this film. Bob Hoskins' character, Smee, is like, Good Morning Neverland. And it was a bit like, kind of like what they're doing there. It was just a small nod, but it was just kind of funny. Like, when I watched it, I was like, oh my god. I did like Bob Hoskins quite a lot in this film. But there was one scene with him towards the end of the film. Peter Pan wakes up back in Britain now, but he wakes up back inside. He's not, you know, he's not in Neverland anymore. And then he sees Smee, played by Bob Hoskins, in this modern day London now, and it's just a bit like, oh, so it's a you know, a Smee in every generation. It was a Hook in every generation. I didn't really get that. It was a Neverland all a dream. It didn't really make sense of having Smee there at the end of the film. He's really good in the film, though. That's nothing to say about Bob Hoskins' performance. Again, I just feel like what they're doing with his character towards the end of the film. But also, the kids are great in the film. I think Spielberg really does, you know, works really, really well, kids. If you look at films like E.T. and even Jaws and Close Encounters, you know, Spielberg really does bring out the best in these child actors. You know, say what you will about the film, but the performances from these child actors are fantastic, and again, that's the same with Hook. And as well as that, I also think the musical score of the film is so fantastic. Say what you will about this film, but you cannot say that the music is bad, because the music for the film is so good. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a John Williams fan. I listened to the main theme from this film before I saw the film, like, last year. I listened to the main theme for the film ages ago, and I didn't think it would be anything special. The music of the film is so incredible. It works so well in the film. Honestly, when, you know, Peter Pan's finally flying again, you just get the magical theme again. And it's fantastic. You know, John Williams did a superb job scoring the music for the film. The score for this film, say a little about the film, dislike it or, you know, love it. The score is undeniably fantastic. It really is. I'm not being biased on this opinion, because actually I do have a lot of things wrong with this film, but the music just doesn't seem to be one of them. I do think, you know, some John Williams scores are better than others, and I ultimately think this is one of the strongest. Just because the film might not be, you know, great to some people, I ultimately think the score is so magical and really does make you feel like you're watching a Peter Pan film. John Williams did a superb job scoring the film. Yet again. But also, I do think parts of the film are made well. Some of the film is made really well. Unfortunately, I can't say that for the whole of the film, though. There are some large pacing issues with this film, I must admit. Before I get onto that, I do want to say one thing. I like this whole idea of a different, you know, Peter Pan story. I really do. I'm not one of those people that might watch this film and think, why don't you just do a Peter Pan, traditional Peter Pan story? Because that's been done before, you know, with good films. I think that people made the right choice of, you know, doing a Peter Pan film with a twist. What if it's Peter Pan coming back to Neverland? I like this whole idea. It's something different. I think he took a risk. Some people like it, some people didn't. I'm actually one of those people that liked it. And bear in mind, like I said before, I'm not one of those people that agree with this film. And I think that whole, you know, idea of, you know, Peter Pan coming back to Neverland, I like that idea. When it's a sequel, in a way, it's its own film at the same time. It's like a sequel without the first film. I like that idea, actually. Everyone knows, like, the original tale, but what happens with almost a sequel? Like, this is kind of the sequel at the same time it's not, because there isn't a first one. So what happens, like, when Peter Pan goes back to Neverland? I like that idea quite a lot. Anyway, going back to the making, going back to the, you know, how the film is made, I do think there are large parts of the film that are made really, really well. Like I said, the set pieces are incredible, and the music of the film is incredible in my opinion. It's unfortunately the pacing. There's a large part of this film where Peter Pan is not Peter Pan, and there's a huge build-up. I'm fine with build-ups. With this film, there's a large part of the film, almost, you know, I'm not going to say 3/4 because it isn't 3/4, it's just under 3/4, but there's a large part of this film, like almost 3/4 of the film, but we don't see Peter Pan as Peter Pan. I was fine in the build-up because I knew Spielberg does long build-ups. He did belong those with Jaws and Jurassic Park, which, you know, I reviewed recently, and sometimes those build-ups really pay off. But the fact that we had such a long build-up with this film, it just got to the point like you could cut scenes before he became Peter Pan, and the film would be exactly the same. Because when Peter Pan does become Peter Pan, it becomes incredibly fast-paced. Okay, that's happening. Okay, that's fine. Okay, Rufio and Hulk fine. Okay. Okay, Peter Pan and Hulk's fine, and now this is happening, and I got really fast, and then it got so fast that by the time, you know, the characters had left in Neverland, it just got to the point like, what just happened? Like, it was so fast paced. The pace of the film is just a bit off as soon as Peter Pan becomes Peter Pan. As a fantastic that scene is, because when he does finally become Peter Pan, you have this fantastic music and he's flying, and it's this fantastic scene. When he does finally become Peter Pan, the film speeds up so much. I was just a bit like, we slow down a bit, and okay, well, this happened, and it's not badly made. In fact, the whole fight sequences in the final scenes in Neverland, those sequences are great, but then it just felt so fast paced. I was just a bit like, can you not slow down a bit? You know, I can't almost these scenes flowing maybe once or two. Pacing was a bit of an issue. I wish they got to, you know, Peter Pan just before. Again, I was fine with this whole build-up thing. I understood why it needed to be there. In fact, you do have some really good scenes before he becomes Peter Pan, like the little kid inspecting his face, like, he is Pan, and I was like, oh, that's quite a really nice scene. And then I thought about 10 minutes later, he would fully become Peter Pan. It was like half an hour later, so I was a bit like, hasn't become Peter Pan yet, and it feels like I'm well into this film. Also, some really weird things to do with Captain Hook when he's trying to impress Peter Pan's kid, and he makes a baseball game on like Hook's side of Neverland with all these pirates dressed as baseball players, and it's just a bit like, what? First of all, how did he know that Peter Pan, you know, missed his son's game? They don't tell us that. It's kind of like, I knew at one stage. And then they reenact this game, and it's just a bit of a weird scene, I'm not going to lie. I was just like, I didn't expect to see that in a in a Peter Pan film. Dustin Hoffman is great as Hook, and I really liked Bob Hoskins as Smee. But there are a lot of weird scenes with the pirates, and don't be wrong, this whole pirate theme that John Williams, you know, composed the film, it's a really fantastic theme. I haven't talked about it. I watched the film last night and I thought, wow, John Williams did a fantastic job, not only scoring the Peter Pan theme, but also the pirate theme as well. There's just so many weird scenes with the pirates when, you know, Pan's not around, and it's just a bit like, you really need this? Yeah, I just think the film has pacing issues and scenes which you could cut out and it'd be exactly the same film, and you could spend more time with Peter Pan as Peter Pan, instead of, you know, Peter Pan as this lawyer trying to remember his Peter Pan. I like the idea. I just wish they could have sped up to him being Peter Pan a bit more. That's all I'm saying. You know, it's good when he is Peter Pan, but it's only Peter Pan for a short amount of time. And then we got into Rufio. I'm not one of those people that love this character. You know, when a lot of people talk about Hook, they go, oh, Rufio is a fantastic character. I'm not one of those people that love his character. I don't hate his character, I just don't love him. I'm like in the middle of him, you know, he's fine, he's there. I like this idea of someone being trying to be Peter Pan when Peter Pan's not in Neverland. That's a good idea. But I'm not one of those people that love Rufio. And the whole subplot with Tinkerbell, it's really weird. I think Julia Roberts' performance as Tinkerbell is great. She does a superb job in the performance of the film. The whole subplot of her character is weird because one scene, and I'm being serious, if you haven't seen the film, might be German surprised by what I'm about to say. One scene where Tinkerbell grows up and becomes the same size as Peter Pan, and it's a really weird scene. And this kind of sitting there like, do we need to see this? Because to be honest, it doesn't really play much significance in the whole grand scheme of the film. I'm just like, okay. I like Julia Roberts' performance, I'm just not really sure what they're doing with Tinkerbell film. It's almost like the filmmaker sat down, the screenwriter sat down and just like, we need a subplot with Tinkerbell, you know, and then they came with this subplot, and they didn't really think it through. But yeah, there are parts of this film that I like. I like the whole idea of Peter Pan coming back to Neverland, almost like a sequel, but at the same time, not at the same time. I like this idea quite a lot. But there's just so many scenes in the film I just thought were necessary, and so many pacing issues that I just thought were, I wouldn't even mind if the film was a bit longer, because I was actually having an enjoyable time watching this film. I think for a family film, if you just want a fun film to sit down with your family, or just sit down by yourself and you don't care that the film's going to have issues, I think you will enjoy quite a lot of this film. But if you're one of those people who sit down and want to watch a great film, you might not find it, because this film does have a lot of filmmaking issues. There's so many shots that are done really well in the first part of the film, and even there's some horror-like sequences in the first part of the film that take place in London when the kids are being stolen. And there's some really nice moments when the music flows through the film incredibly well. A lot of moments when, you know, Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman are giving off fantastic performances. Unfortunately, that's not what's going to make the film. The film has to have an interesting plot. This whole storyline with Tinkerbell, I don't think was necessarily needed. Again, I'm not one of those people that have this emotional connection to this film, but I still enjoyed it. I would happily watch quite a lot of Spielberg films over this, but at the same time, it's enjoyable. And so for that reason, I'm going to give Hook, a 7 out of 10 or a 7.0 out of 10 if we're being precise. It's that thing that I said before. If you're sitting down and want to watch as a fun, enjoyable film, maybe with your family, maybe just with someone else, or maybe just by yourself, you just want to watch a fun film that, you know, a bit of escapism, and you want to watch a fun, enjoyable film, Hook is enjoyable. But if you're sitting down and you want to watch a good film, a good, solid, strong film, and you're one of those people that are going to nitpick and criticise all these moments in the film, I don't think you'll enjoy the film. It's a good family film. Not necessarily a great film though. I'm in the middle. I think it's an enjoyable film. I like it. Good performances, incredible music, and again, I think the score of this film is so underrated. Really good scenes like when Peter Pan finally becomes Peter Pan, he's flying and it's great. It looks great for a film that was made in the 90s. It's just, it has a problem. I think it's a good family film, not particularly a great film, and that's where I sit with it. I'd sit in the middle with it. I think it's a good film, and I liked it, and that's from someone, again, who does not have an emotional connection to the film. Didn't watch this film as a child and watched it for the first time last year. All in all, I think Hook is a 7 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, what do you think of Hook? Are you one of those people that grew up with this film and have this emotional connection to it and absolutely love it? Are you one of those people that just don't like the film at all? Or have you just not watched it? And if not, why not? Please do comment below and with your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway guys, just to say once again, I'm reviewing a handful of Spielberg films right now. So look forward to my review of Schindler's List, a very different film to this film, coming very, very soon on this channel. Anyway guys, thank you as always for watching, and if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like subscribe on this video, and look forward to many more, both film and TV reviews and Spielberg film reviews from very, very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon, but bye for now, bye!